Hey guys, so I wanted to get on here and give a public service announcement. Not necessarily a public service announcement, but some information. ICE, or the fascist Gestapo, has now moved their operations to the south, mainly North Carolina. And with that being said, since North Carolina is a blue state, and we all know that the Gestapo and ICE has been targeting blue states, now they've targeted the wrong one. Because, yes, North Carolina might be a blue state, but it's still a southern state. And people in the South don't take lightly to federal agents coming down into their community, into their neighborhood, terrorizing their community neighbors and their families and their friends, and especially their community friends. They don't take lightly to that. And I heard recently that North Carolina showed up and showed out. In other words, they came packing, if you know what I mean. And they showed them ICE agents, them frozen water agents, that they're not going to put up with that. And they ran them out of town with their tails tucked under their ass. And they scattered like rats on a sinking ship. The people of North Carolina ran them out of there because, first of all, North Carolinians carry. Because in the state of North Carolina, it is legal to carry in public. So ICE picked the wrong fucking state to do their operations. And my thing is, I'm glad that they did that, because you show a motherfucker that you ain't playing and that you are ready to use your weapon to defend yourself, they learned real quick that North Carolinians don't fucking play that game. And it's the same thing here in Tennessee where I live. We all carry. I carry. I'm armed to the gills. I'm armed to the teeth. So here's what I say. Point that steel at them motherfucking agents and let them know that they can go somewhere, they can go fucking somewhere else where they feel safer and where people are scared to death of them. Because fear is contagious and it's disgusting. And we can't give in to fear. It's time for us to use our Second Amendment right. We have the Second Amendment right for a reason. And it's time for us to stand our ground against these fascist thugs. It's time for us to stand our ground against these fascist thugs. Because I'm going to tell you right now, If an ICE agent was to point his weapon at me, he better he better pull that trigger and kill me, because I will send him to Jesus real quick and let Jesus sort him out. Because we don't put up with that shit down here. And secondly, don't do anything fucking crazy. Don't go out here doing any kind of crazy shit. But let them know that you're not scared, you ain't afraid, and that you will use your weapon if you have to for protection and for self-defense. Because what they thrive on is your fear. I've seen plenty of videos where people have ran ICE agents out. And in North Carolina, they sent them packing. They sent them so-called federal agents packing. And they ran. They got the hell out of Dodge. Because they realized that North Carolinians ain't playing. And we ain't playing down here in Tennessee either. And I know eventually ICE is going to come to Tennessee. And I know eventually they're going to come into our community. And they're going to terrorize our community. And I'm waiting for that day. Because like they did in North Carolina, I'll make them tuck their tail up under their asses and run. Again, let me reiterate. Don't be fucking stupid. Don't do anything. Don't do stupid shit. And I'm not saying to do stupid shit. But what I am saying is, show them that you ain't afraid, and that you're not afraid, and that you are not above using your weapon for self-defense. Because it's time that we stand our ground as Americans. That's what the Second Amendment is for. And it's time that we act upon our Second Amendment right. Because peaceful protest seems to not be working. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for peaceful protesting. I'm all for it. If that peaceful protest accomplishes its goal that it was set out to do. But in this case, we've had 4 protests, peaceful protests, that have accomplished absolutely 0. So now it's time we take it a step further. We take another measure. And that measure is the Second Amendment right. It's time for us to show these Gestapo thugs that they're not welcome. It's time for us to show Kristi Noem that she ain't welcome. It's time for us to show Donald Trump that he's not welcome. It's time for us to show Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Mike Johnson, Pam Bondi, all the rest of the bunch, Pete Hegseth, all of them, that they are not welcome in this country. So, I'm a firm believer of the Second Amendment right. I'm a veteran. I served this country for 14 years. I took my oath to the Constitution very, very fucking serious. And for those of you maggots that get on here and make these comments saying, due process doesn't apply to them, or it's better to go to court getting into the country than it is going, or some shit like that. Our Constitution says, if you know the Constitution says all persons on U.S. soil is entitled to due process under law. But of course, you maggots don't know the Constitution. And those of you that do know the Constitution think it only applies to certain people. No, it applies to everybody. Again, it says, and I quote, all persons, that means all persons, on U.S. soil is entitled to due process under law. And let me make one thing perfectly clear. Crossing the border illegally is not a felon. It's not a felony. It's not a crime. It's a misdemeanor at best. So if you do cross the border illegally and you get caught, the correct way to do it is due process in a court of law and let the judge determine whether you should be deported or not. Not some thug Gestapo ICE agent with a mask on who wants to make up the rules as they go. That's not how this country works. So it's time for us Americans to stand up and stand our ground and exercise our Second Amendment right, because that's the only way. That's the only way that we are going to take back our country. It's the only way. Because you maggots have pissed off 76% of Americans. 76% of Americans do not like what's going on right now. And that doesn't include the veterans. Y'all have pissed off the veterans too. And the veterans, they don't like you, maggots. They don't like you, MAGA. So y'all have made the wrong people mad. And I guess what the Gestapo ICE failed to realize is that us Southern folks, we take pride in owning firearms. So, this message is for you, ICE. Go ahead and come on down south and do your raids down here in the South. Go ahead and see how quickly the people will show up loaded and ready to go. Cocked, loaded, and ready. And yes, they do carry in public. And if you dare point a weapon at them, they will not be afraid to pull out their weapon and send your ass straight to Jesus and let him sort you out. That's all I've got for tonight. And I just want to say one more thing. Shame on you, maggots. Shame on you. Y'all voted for a felon, a convicted felon, 34 felonies he's been convicted of. A pedophile, a child rapist, and a sex trafficker. Y'all supported that. Y'all supported a man who was a convicted felon, a pedophile, a child rapist, Y'all support that. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. And you want to call yourselves Christians? Y'all want to call yourselves Christians. Last time I checked, Jesus didn't approve of pedophiles. Jesus didn't approve of harming children sexually. And Jesus sure as hell didn't approve of disappearing people off the streets. Because if Jesus were here today, y'all would crucify him just like he was crucified 2,000 years ago. And y'all want to call yourselves Christians. Be shamed. Be ashamed of yourself. Because the God that I serve and the God that I love despises people like you. He despises child molesters, pedophiles, rapists, and criminals. Especially a criminal who disappears people off the streets, separates families, arresting children, and taking a Black Hawk helicopter and landing it on a building like we're in some kind of fucking war zone in Afghanistan or in Iraq or something, with soldiers storming the building to arrest people like we're in a fucking war zone. Because God don't like you right now. And y'all want to call yourselves Christians. You should be ashamed of yourself. You fucking maggots. You child molesting, pedophile supporting, criminal supporting maggots is what you guys are. Be ashamed of yourself. Because one day when you have to answer to God and you say to him, "Oh, but Lord, have I not healed the sick? Have I not laid hands on the sick and they were healed? Have I not done this and have I not done that?" And you know what he's going to say to you? "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity, for I never knew you. I spew thee out of my mouth and cast you into the lake of fire." That's what he's going to say to you. Because the God that I serve is not the same God that y'all be preaching. So to my fellow Americans, my patriotic Americans that love this country as much as I do, it's time for us to stand our ground and exercise our Second Amendment right. Because it's the only way that we are going to take our country back. And for you maggots, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. Because I can't wait for that day to pop off. When I get a chance to put a bullet right here between your forehead. Right here. For what you've done to this country. And for how you've destroyed this country. Be ashamed of yourself. You fucking pedophile supporting, criminal supporting, child rapist supporting, bigot bastards. And to my Mexican friends, one thing I want to say to you is be careful out there. I know you're afraid to go out and go to work and all that stuff. But let me give you a little bit of advice. And normally I don't say stuff like this, but I feel it's necessary because we're in a time right now where it's necessary. If an unmarked car tries to stop you, don't stop. Do not stop. However, if a car that says police and it has the city name of the town on it, or sheriff's department and the county, then yes, you have to stop because that's the law. You have to stop. But if you see ICE agents get out of that car, put that sumbitch in gear and run their asses over and keep going as fast as your car will go, and make several turns to lose them so that you can lose their asses. Remember, the more right-hand turns you make, the quicker it is you lose them. Make a bunch of right-hand turns and then make left-hand turns. But be safe. And shame on you, maggots. Shame on you for fucking this country up. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself for supporting a fucking pedophile, a child rapist, and a sex trafficker, and a criminal. Because obviously, birds of a feather flock together. Those of you who support a criminal who's been convicted of 34 felonies, those of you that support a pedophile, those of you who support a child rapist, you are one yourself. So, all I want to say is America and the veterans, it's time for us to use our Second Amendment right and take back our country. Because like I said, 76% of Americans are against this. And me being a veteran, I know a lot of veterans and active duty military. And they don't like you. They hate your fucking guts. So, with that said, I wish my Hispanic friends the best, and be safe. And to you fucking maggots, your time is coming. Your time is coming where you will be held accountable. ICE, your time is also coming where you will be held accountable. And you think that wearing that mask is going to hide you and protect your identity? Got news for you, motherfucker. Technology that's out now, all that's needed is your eye color and your eye shape. And that mask that you're wearing, it shows your facial features. And that's all that's needed to know who you are and to dox your ass. Peace, everybody. And love to those who love this country. To the real patriots. And to you traitors of this country, that want a dictator and that want fascism, get the fuck out of my country and go live in a country that has a dictator and that has fascism. Because you ain't going to share my country with me. You ain't going to share my country that's a democracy where we have freedom. We don't do dictators. We don't do kings. We don't do wannabe authoritarianism. We don't do shit like that. We don't do that in this country. So if that's what you want, again, get the fuck out of my country and move to a place, to a country that has a dictator and fascism. Because you ain't gonna do it here. Because we the people will make sure of that. That's all I've got for now. I love y'all. The patriot Americans I love. The rest of you maggots, I could care less if you drop dead tomorrow. Peace, y'all.